Thanks for joining me. I am running around the house with a pickle in my mouth today, getting ready to talk about the Righteous Gemstones, Season 3, Episode 6, and the theology and typical evangelical thinking and doing throughout. I'm Suzanne Titkemeyer. I used to write for a place called Pathos, a column called No Longer Quivering, where I covered the quiverful evangelical non-denominational world, especially the non-denoms. And this is right up my alley. So here we go, and this is what we're doing. The overarching themes last night, one of them had to do with culture. Culture, let's explain culture. This is an item you can only buy in Costa Rica, here where I live. It is toast in a box toast. And it's a frutas rojas y chia. So this is a healthier version. Yet it has blueberries for its red fruit. Ponder that one. So I always laugh at some of the dumb culture things, but here's the thing about the show. It has so much evangelical culture that if you were not raised or spent significant time in that particular world and mindset, you might miss it. It might just go right over your head. So I am here to talk about that today. One of the things that is the most interesting to me, and I'm sorry, my AC just cut off, so I don't know how long this is going to be. We'll see. One of the things that I find the most interesting about the Righteous Gemstones is how true to evangelical things they are. And sometimes it's just rather mind-boggling how true they are. This was one of those episodes. One of the things that they did was an evangelical thing from purity culture. Whoa, I hate purity culture. It's the worst thing in the world. It creates stunted human beings that do not understand sexuality and how to function as a sexual being in this world. The other thing is the theology they had last night was the theology of forgiveness and non-forgiveness, revenge, mercy, and reinventing yourself, really. Reincarnation, kind of. Rising from the dead. So if you were watching the week before that, and big spoilers, you know that they did an episode, a flashback episode, and Judy Gemstone was revealed that her parents knew she had mental health issues and did nothing. Now, I was really angry last week when all that came out. Like teeth gnashing, angry. I was mad. Because this is one of those bugaboos, one of those things that for me is a problem, is when you take something that is normal and human and then you either deny it, dismiss it, or you pretend it's demons or whatever, your selfishness, then I'm going to hate on you. That's one of those things that I cannot stand about evangelical. I've seen so many people deny the mental health problems of their children in various ways and their husbands and wives. It's poisonous. It creates a lot of problems. Let's not do that. So they did that. We got to see. And then this week we see the aftermath and the fallout from Judy's actions. Judy had an almost affair with her guitar player, Stephen, on the road. I'm not smiling because she almost committed adultery. I'm smiling because she fell into that evangelical thing that I heard mentioned once on the show. Emotional infidelity. That was huge at my old church. What do I mean by that? Well, it could be as simple as you're just minding your own business. You're sitting at the bus stop and your lizard brain kicks in, and this fine-looking member of the opposite or same sex, whichever way you're wired, strolls by, and you look at them for a millisecond and think, I wonder what it'd be like to write on that. Then you're like, oh, not the way I want to be thinking. Nope. And you shut it down and just breathe in, breathe out, move on, like I like to say. And that happens, and you're like, okay, this happened. In evangelical circles, that is considered to be a major sin. Just as much of a sin as committing adultery is this emotional adultery, they call it. I was buying into that so hard that when men contacted me to talk to me on Instant Messenger, I would say, I'm sorry, I'm not going to dishonor my marriage by having conversation my husband isn't any part of. Not committing emotional infidelity, which is the stupidest damn thing I've heard of. I've been out now almost 18 years, and there are times when I look at this crap and I'm like, why did I ever fall for that? I was pretty sophisticated compared to a lot of the people I went to church with. I knew better. So Judy's almost affair has had some pretty bad consequences. And there's emotional infidelity, and that's why everybody's losing their damn mind over it. But we get to see Judy actually do some growth in this episode, so I was really happy to see that. She was forced to apologize to Stephen's wife. She did so. She attended Amber's, I guess it's her woman's group, and tried to talk to Chad's wife about how do you get past the infidelity. Now, being that Judy is Judy, it was very inappropriate and full of cursing. But you could see where Judy was coming from with that. She was trying to figure out what she had to do to get BJ to forgive her for her nearly infidelity. And there were a couple of things. Number one, I think we're going to see Amber break out and be a force to be reckoned with. I can see it coming now with the women's group, because she's doing the kind of stuff that needs to happen in churches, large, small, whatever they call themselves. Women need to be real about their problems and discuss them and come up with better ways to deal with them. And that is what they're doing. That's what Amber's doing. It's very powerful. That truth is like the most powerful thing you can do. So I think we're going to see Amber break out. And you can see already she's starting to challenge Jesse. Jesse's not real happy about it. He wants her to be the Tammy Faye Baker of the relationship, the stand by your man, the Tammy Wynette, and support him, not do her own thing, and definitely not get any other glory for it. So here we have Amber, who hasn't always gotten along with Judy, trying to help Judy in a real and significant way. And you see Judy taking baby steps, trying to figure this out herself from her mentally not normal self. Poor thing. I actually have empathy for Judy now that I understand where the roots of this thing were. And it's bad. Judy is the middle child. If you look at birth order books, and middle children usually get the short end of the stick all the way around. And here we have Judy trying to figure out how to make BJ, her husband, forgive her for this near infidelity. So that's where the unforgiveness and the forgiveness comes in. And that's also where the revenge comes in. Because BJ was crying in the visitor center. Here, let me give you a free piece of advice. If you're involved in church, if you're not involved with church, if you're on, one of the big pieces of advice I used to give the kids on teen worship team, never get a couple of them. Smile, make eye contact, never go on the platform crying because it does weird things to your voice. And BJ was working his little volunteering at the visitor center, the welcome center. And Jesse spots him. And Jesse has his yes men. He has his group, his 4 guys. One of which, who is played by Jody Hill, the co-creator of the show. He plays the guitarist with the long hair. And that is really true to life to a lot of pastors that I've known in my life. They always have their hype men, their group of yes men that will rubber stamp everything they're doing. Most churches, it contains at least several worship team members, if not more. Sometimes the worship team is like, we got your back. We're going to do this for you. So that's not real surprising he has those guys. That's very true to life. Just like the whole emotional infidelity, true to life. So they start trying to train BJ to go beat the living snot out of Stephen. They train him. They're teaching him how to box, twist. they're doing that, and it's a funny sequence because you've got somebody has drawn a picture of a man on the punching bag, on the speed bag, including the gonads, and just laughing at this, watching him do it, thinking, BJ's not going to go do this. He's just too kind and too nice to go clean somebody's clock. Well, well, well. This is our revenge part. So we've had forgiveness, unforgiveness, and we've had some types of rebirth, renewal with Amber. And now we're having revenge with BJ. This was the funniest part. I busted out laughing, squealing during this. So they pump BJ up. They teach him how to box. They send him on his merry way to Stephen's house. He watches until he sees Stephen's wife and kids leave. And then he goes and knocks on the door. Nobody answers. So BJ goes around this and looking in the windows and doing things. Eventually, he just opens the door and walks on in, checking every room carefully for Stephen. And finally, when he opens the door that Stephen is behind, Stephen is on the bed doing what my son used to laughingly call exacerbating, but it's not exacerbating. I can't say the real word because YouTube will spank me, and I don't like spankings. I'm not that. That's not my thing. So there you have Stephen there, buck-ass naked, flogging his log for everybody to see. At first, BJ's just staring, because what are you going to do? You walk in on a room, somebody doing self-pleasuring, and it's just awkward. But it's awkward for a lot longer pause than it would be for most people. Most people are going, excuse me, going right out again. So the fight ensues. There's this big fight between BJ and Stephen, and BJ has brass knuckles that Jesse gave him at the beginning, but Stephen gets them away from him, and Stephen just starts kicking his rear end righteously all over the place. And after he knocks BJ out, he drags him onto the yard, down the brick steps of his house, the front lawn, in front of the neighbors. He's naked out in his front lawn. Nothing suspicious about that. And pulls up the hose and starts squirting BJ to wake him up. There are kids on bikes watching this. So it's not just old timers who are walking and too much time on their hands that are watching this. It is the whole neighborhood that is watching this stupid thing. And then the tide turns. So he's standing over BJ, squirting him. And it's kind of shocking the way that HBO, in their infinite wisdom, show full frontal male nudity on this show several times. And I have no problem with that. I'm not a prude after my years in there. It was just like, nope, the body is not sinful. Looking at a naked body is not sinful. But I always knew that. I learned to do nude figure drawing and painting when I was in college. And that kind of demystifies and takes all the dirtiness out of it anyway for you. So we're looking at a naked Stephen, a rear view, and you see the gonads sagging. You see at least his testicles are sagging below, you can see. And I'm thinking, ooh. And sure enough, BJ reaches up, tugs and twists, and down Stephen goes. And he starts to beat the what out of him. He beats the snot out of Stephen and just leaves him like that on the lawn and runs off. So here we have breaking and entering, felony assault. I don't even know what all kind of crimes that committed by BJ. And he goes back to Judy, and Judy's very upset. She's like, oh, I cooked you a special dinner. Where have you been, Beej? And BJ utters the saddest line of the entire episode. It's like, they told him to say when he was over Stephen, after having beaten him up, to say, how do you like me now? He says something very similar to Judy, not exactly the same, but very close. And it's a turning point for the character. So I don't know what that means for BJ in the future. Whether that means BJ is going to not bottle things up and he's going to deal with them more honestly, that would be a good thing. But we may see a volcano of rage erupting from this man of all the stuff he's suppressed. Everything from Judy dressing him in that lavender romper and beyond. I don't know. I think that makes some really funny potential. BJ has crossed some sort of awful Rubicon because he and Keith are really the two closest to actual Christians, if you look at the words of Jesus, of anybody on this show. They're both kind. They're both very modest and self-effacing. They don't make judgments of other people. They try to help others, both of them. And it's kind of funny because in the middle of this huge evangelical family that runs this mega church, the two best Christians, the ones who epitomize the words of Christ and what he said to do, are the two that are kind of the outsiders of the family, Keith and BJ. You know, maybe we'll see BJ drop the emotional infidelity thing and fully forgive Judy and double down on his caring for her. Maybe. I don't think so. But maybe we're going to see an all new different dude here. I don't know. But it's going to be interesting. It's definitely going to be interesting. And that's the thing with forgiveness. I just want to throw this out there. Forgiveness is something that's talked about a tremendous amount in the evangelical world. And Jesus himself said we're to forgive 7 times 70. And it's hard to do. It's really hard to actually forgive people. I probably hold less grudges now that I'm not that kind of Christian than I ever did when I was, because I certainly had a ton of them then. It's really hard to let go. And the thing is with forgiveness, you're not doing it for the other person. You're doing it for yourself. You're doing it so you don't have to carry the spiritual weight of that thing around. And so it's good to keep a short offense list and try to forgive people as much as you can. But there are going to be some circumstances you're going to struggle with in your life. They're going to be almost impossible to forgive. I know, I've been there. I'm still there. I have somebody right now I'm struggling to forgive because of the hell they unleashed upon me when they house set my house. And I know I'm going to have to, as much as I don't want to. But let me also say this about forgiveness. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting. It also does not mean being in a relationship with that person again. If you forgive them for what they've done, you are under no obligation to ever speak a single word to them. You're under no obligation to buddy up to them. You're under no obligation to treat them any better than you would treat any other stranger. In fact, I would say you probably treat a stranger kinder. Because you know the person you're forgiving has trampled your boundaries so bad that your walls are higher, and the hope of them ever breaching that wall is pretty slim. So that's kind of where I think BJ is going to be with Judy. It's going to be hard for him to forgive her. Even if what she did isn't technically real infidelity. Close, but no cigar. But I'm glad that the show has continued to have moments of levity, because after episode 5, I was not feeling it. I'm going to be continuing. I think I'm going to do an episode a day until I get caught up. I love this show. It shows a lot about what evangelicalism is like, the non-denominational kind. It shows what leadership is like. I've talked about this before. If you're in leadership, if you go from being a regular churchgoer, somebody sitting in the pews, to somebody who's on the inside, somebody who is working, somebody who's on worship team, somebody who is doing any kind of job for the church, you get to see how the sausage is made. Let's just put it that way. It's not always pretty. It's not always nice. And sometimes you come away with no desire to ever eat that sausage again. For me, that was how it was. Once I left, I was just like, oh, gag for the longest time. Fortunately for me, I had a really, really kind, gentle pastor in the Methodist church when I left for 10 years. And he was perfectly fine allowing me to sit on the pew gagging. I joined worship team there and helped out because it was a new service, a contemporary. But other than being on worship team, he allowed me to sit on the sidelines and gag. And that's what I needed to do to heal. I needed to get past all of this. No longer quivering has helped. My interactions with people online has helped. And even though I do sometimes get very triggered, things like the Righteous Gemstones help. It all helps. And if you've come here because that's where you are in your life, let me encourage you. There is life on the other side. Once you have deconstructed what happened to you, there is life on the other side. That you can reconstruct what it is you actually believe in, where your faith or lack of faith leads. And it's all good. It's all golden. Love you guys. I'll see you later.